Hello and welcome to my top something films. Let's actually get the number right before I even start this. I'll just leave this in for free, like I always do. We'll go top 30. Top 30 films I saw for the first time in 2018. This is a series that I did, I think, starting in 2014 or 15. Where at the end of the year I would talk about my favorite films that I saw in the previous year that were first-time watches. So I'm not talking about 2018 movies, I'm talking about anything that was released before 2018. So classic movies and anything goes, basically. So I've compiled this list, and typically every year I did a top 50 films of that year that I'd seen for the first time, and this year I only got to 41, which is really unfortunate. I think I watched a lot of 2018 releases last year, but there wasn't more than 41 that I felt was really worth noting down. Even then, some of these in the bottom aren't really that worth talking about. So I'll actually just give you the rundown just for the sake of, arguments. Number 41, The Outsiders, bit of a disappointment, great cast, really enjoyed it, but not quite as good as I hoped it would be. Number 40, La Pointe Courte, Agnès Varda's first film, really enjoyed that. Number 39, Rent-A-Cat from Naoko Ogigami. Number 38, To Have and Have Not. Really liked that film with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, and reviewed it in the Epic Film Challenge too. Number 37, Raising Cain. I had seen almost all of it when I was a teenager, but watched it for the first time in full with Connie, and really enjoyed that. Number 36, A Fish Called Wanda. Reviewed that in the Epic Film Challenge too, which I can also say about number 35, which is Audition, and number 34, which is Black Sunday. Number 33 was Heathers, which I really enjoyed, and it felt like a film I should have seen much earlier. Number 32, Badlands, also reviewed that in the Epic Film Challenge too. Same with The Ice Storm in number 31. So, the top 30 films I saw for the first time in 2018. Number 30, A Cure for Wellness, which is actually a 2017 release. Really enjoyed this one. The cinematography is stunning. A really creepy horror slow burn thriller with Dane DeHaan. Really good cast, and it's not a film I'd watch again and again, but I was really impressed by it. Number 29, Pick Up on South Street, film noir, which I reviewed in the Epic Film Challenge too, and enjoyed it very much. Number 28, Shanghai Noon, which is nowhere near the quality of a film like A Cure for Wellness or Pick Up on South Street, or Badlands, or The Ice Storm, or Black Sunday, or A Fish Called Wanda. But I loved it, and it put to bed this, how would you say, it put to bed this kind of ghost of my past, where when I was a kid, my dad was going to take me to go see Shanghai Noon, and I overslept. So I got up at like 10, 11, and he's like, well, you overslept. And it was just like such a dick move. Like, he was up, he could have woke me up, but he thought, well, Luke's asleep, so I'm just not going to take him to the cinema. So I was gutted that I never got to see this film. I finally got to see it. Connie had seen it before, and she really enjoyed it, so she wanted to revisit it. And I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I love Jackie Chan, and his kind of chemistry with Owen Wilson was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed the film. Number 27, Slapshot, which we watched in 24-Hour Movie Marathon 7. Really enjoyed it. Love Paul Newman. The highlight of that film were the Hanson brothers, to be sure. Number 26, The French Connection. Another Epic Film Challenge 2 review. Great cop film. Gene Hackman, brilliant. And also, what's his name? Roy Schneider. Great kind of pairing, and a great look at just kind of a kind of gritty cop drama with just one of the best chase sequences I think ever. Number 25, The Shop Around the Corner. Really enjoyed this one with James Stewart, and again, another Marathon 7 film. Number 24, Yoshino's Barbershop from Naoko Ogigami. Really enjoyed that one. Watch this space. Number 23, Arrietty, the Studio Ghibli film, which I believe was directed by Yonebayashi. I'm not sure actually. I think that was one of his. But really enjoyed that. Kicked off Marathon 7 with that. Number 22, La Jetée, the Chris Marker short film. Also reviewed in the Epic Film Challenge too. I should just stop saying that. You can go search for them if you want, I suppose. And I love that film. I absolutely loved it. I want to see it again. Number 21, Body Heat, the Lawrence Kasdan kind of neo-noir, I guess they call them, where it's not in black and white and a detective story, but it just it's really just it's such a moody, atmospheric film. And I watched it during the kind of great heat wave of the past summer, so I felt like I had a 4DX experience in my living room with the fans on and just like sweating. And like it's set in Florida during a heat wave, everyone's always constantly dabbing their neck and stuff. So I think I mentioned that in the review. Number 20. Now, I will say this as we get to the top 20. This list is it's not going to be as good as the previous lists I've done over the years, because I can't really dig into these films very much, because most of the films in the top half of this list are films I'm going to review in Asian Cinema Season 2. So effectively the top 6 movies I'm not going to say anything about. So I guess this is really more like I don't know, like my top 23 films of. It's just this is a shit video, isn't it? It's not going very well. I apologize. I was looking forward to doing this, and I feel like I've fucked it up. But we'll push on. Number 20, A Brighter Summer Day from Edward Yang. Incredible film. I feel like I need to sit with it more. I need to maybe even watch it again. But it's a 4-hour movie, and it's just yeah, I got so many thoughts, and it would be silly to kind of dive into them now, but I really was quite impressed by it. Number 19, The Beaches of Agnes, a documentary from 2008 directed by Agnes Varda, who I saw in the flesh, in person, at the BFI. I'll leave that one in for double free. At the BFI. At the BFI. In August last year to screen this film, and she's like 91 now, and she was there to kind of I think she introduced the film and also did a Q&A afterwards, and it was just so cool to see her in person. Just one of my kind of one of the great moments in my film loving life is seeing her in person and getting to see her documentary, and kind of being sat in the front row while she stood there on the door. They're trying to pull her out to kind of leave the screening room. She's waiting to watch the beginning of the film with everyone. Oh my god, love that so much. But the film was great on its own as well. Number 18, another Marathon 7 film, Don't Breathe. I also watched this again. I watched it twice last year. My mum really wanted to see it, so I watched it again with her, and it really held up. It's a fantastic thriller. Stephen Lang, brilliant. Number 17, a film I watched for the Epic Film Challenge too, and I never got around to reviewing it, Blue Velvet by David Lynch. This one I need to sit on a little bit longer. I need to see it again, but I thought it was really fucking cool. Really interesting and dark and mysterious and kind of playful at the same time, and almost in a way to me felt like a prequel to Twin Peaks, because Kyle MacLachlan's character almost feels like Cooper in a way, a younger, perhaps hornier version of Special Agent Dale Cooper. Number 16, Thelma and Louise. We recently reviewed that one, so you can go check that out if you haven't already. Number 15, The Uninvited. I watched my Criterion disc of this, finally, with my mum, who really likes old horror movies, and this is a really fucking good ghost story. I'm not the biggest fan of ghost story movies, but this is one of, if not my favorite. I'm just thinking of the way that the climax of that film plays out. There's something about it. It's about a haunted house, and I loved it. I loved the setting, I loved the story, and I was really taken with it, so I thought that was great. Number 14, Zatoichi Challenged. This is the 17th movie in the storied Zatoichi series, and you'll hear more about that, perhaps, in Asian Cinema Season 2, but it was one of my favorites of the whole series. My watching of all the Zatoichi movies bled over from Asian Cinema Season 2017 in November over to January and February of 2018, so that was my favorite of all the ones I watched kind of in the second half of the 25 movies in that box set. Number 30, and there's a great final duel with the samurai. Like, of all the Zatoichi movies, that's probably the best duel, because they actually clash swords. Like, not to get into it too much, but with Zatoichi, usually it's the pulls the sword out and he's cut them down before they can even blink. It's rare that he actually clashes swords with another, samurai or whatever. And so in Zatoichi Challenge, he has an actual, like, prolonged duel, which was awesome. Number 13, From Mike Lee, I believe, we have Happy Go Lucky. This was spurred on after seeing The Shape of Water and being quite taken with it and being quite impressed with Sally Hawkins' performance, which I thought was wonderful in the film. So I wanted to see another film with Sally Hawkins, and, you know, you couldn't get more far removed from The Shape of Water in Happy Go Lucky. She plays a very British character and a very happy-go-lucky character. Really interesting film where it was, I believe it was born out of improvisations and stuff. Obviously, I think like the actual script was set down, but there was a lot of rehearsal time, I think, and it was kind of like letting things naturally evolve. From what I understand, maybe I'm remembering that wrong, but it feels very natural and flowing and realistic as well. And I know someone who saw this and thought it was really boring. I could kind of see that, but I loved it. I thought it was just charming personified. Number 12, a film from Jim Jarmusch, Patterson, starring Adam Driver. And he plays a bus driver called Patterson who lives in Patterson. And the movie is called Patterson. So there's a lot of Patterson in this film, and it's a very simple story of a poet. That's it. Like, literally, you follow him during a week where he gets up, goes to work, comes back home, writes a little bit of poetry. It's about kind of the monotony of day-to-day life and also the little moments in between. There is an incredible scene, I think, where he bumps into this young girl who's also a poet. And she says, "Do you want to hear my poem?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So she reads him the poem. And that's one of my favorite scenes, I think, of the decade. I watched that scene like about 10 times. I just thought it was something, there was something so, I don't know, captivating about it. I loved it so much. And the film I really, really, really enjoyed. And I'm looking forward to revisiting at some point. It's just one of those things where nothing really happens, but there's so much stuff going on despite that, if you understand what I mean. Number 11, an animated short film from René Laloux, How Wang Fo Was Saved. I talked about this recently in the 5 short films by René Laloux review, talking about the extras on the La Planète Sauvage, massive cinema, spy number 5 or 6, I think. And this film, loved it. A masterpiece. You know, this is just a brilliant story about a legendary artist who painted these incredible landscapes, and there was the Emperor's son, I believe, had grown up and desecrated some paintings, and was confined to a life of solitude until he became of age and became a man. And so his whole life, he was locked away from the outside world, or his whole young life, I suppose, because he did eventually get out. So anyway, this kid grew up with these paintings from this amazing painter, and that was how he viewed the outside world. And when he came out of confinement and he saw the outside world and he saw that the real world wasn't the same, and he was so angry that this artist had lied to him, that he brings him, to him to have an audience with him and to tell him that you've kind of, you've made me lose faith in everything. I'm going to kill you, basically. And it's a really cool story. It's beautifully told. I mean, the artwork, the animation is stunning, but I just love that story because it's not just about this guy who was disappointed when he saw the real thing. It's about, how we can get lost in art if we make art become better than real life. And is it a dangerous thing to create a world for ourselves in art that isn't quite as good as the real thing, and then once we get back to the real thing, we're constantly disappointed and the despair that can lead to? Or you could argue that perhaps it is vital to have that art to let us escape from the harsh realities of the real world. I love the film so much. And number 10 isn't a masterpiece, but I enjoyed it just a little bit more. Crocodile Dundee. So enjoyable. Watched it in Marathon 7 with Connie. It was a film that was special to her growing up, and so that made it extra special to me to watch it. But I loved it. I thought that Paul Hogan was great as Mick Dundee. I loved how I went in having a preconception that it was going to be like, Crocodile Dundee, this tough guy who's from the outback and he can do all this cool stuff because he's from a different world than the big city. And partly true, but it's also partly a guy who's kind of inept as well, and he kind of pokes fun at that, pokes fun at himself in that sense as a character. And I really enjoyed that. It made the character so much more likable when it came to the parts where he was saving the day. Number 9, Borg McEnroe, which I recently bought. It's somewhere here. Starring Shia LaBeouf, and I forget the actual guy's name who played Borg. I recently talked about this in my update video, my Blu-ray update video, so I won't go into it too much, but suffice it to say, I think it's the best tennis film ever made. Not that there's much competition there, you know, when you're looking at films like Wimbledon, which I enjoy, but, you know, I loved how they portrayed the final match between Borg and McEnroe, just a masterclass of editing and the way they put that together, and the tension, the drama they built out of this incredible real tennis match was great. Number 8, All About Eve. Wonderful film, like, incredible cast, incredible writing, you know, incredible story, you know, and actually a lot of people were saying that the recent film from Yorgos Lanthimos, The Favourite, is kind of like a funnier version of All About Eve, set in, you know, back 300 years ago, however long it was set, because of the story of someone kind of a new person coming in and kind of taking away what someone else has, that kind of rivalry. And so I can see the comparisons there, but All About Eve is just a phenomenally executed film all round, I think. I loved it so much, and definitely just it's one of those films. It's a classic for a reason. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to watch this film. Everyone talks about it. They say it's a classic. Is it going to be that good? Oh, yeah, it is. You know, there's a reason people talk about it. Number 7 is Billy Wilder's The Apartment. Another Marathon 7 watch. And it was really hard to decide which one of the two I enjoyed more, but The Apartment just about inches it out because of the incredible likability of the main characters, and I thought that Shirley MacLaine was just luminous in the film. Like, there's just something so alluring and captivating about her slightly tragic performance in that film, and it's really funny, but it has a really great dramatic center to it as well. And Ryan Chataway, I just recently watched this for the very first time. He was blown away by it, so I'm glad he finally got to see this film too, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. Now, the top 6 films I saw for the first time in 2018 are all films I've reviewed already, but you haven't seen. They're all videos that are waiting to be released for Asian Cinema Season 2. So I'm just going to run through them, and you'll kind of know and be spoiled which ones I preferred, but I'm not going to talk about any of them because I've already talked about them to death, and you can look forward to that, hopefully, in Asian Cinema Season 2. So for all intents and purposes, this video is now over. Number 6 is I Wish by Hirokazu Koreeda. Number 5 is Still Walking by Hirokazu Koreeda. Number 4 is Like Father, Like Son by Hirokazu Koreeda. Number 3 is Megane by Naoko Ogigami. Number 2 is Seagull Diner by Naoko Ogigami. And number 1, my favorite film that I watched for the very first time in 2018, Our Little Sister by Hirokazu Koreeda. Like the Japanese films. So there we go, that was my list. I hope you look forward to hearing my thoughts on those films. If you have any thoughts on them, please let me know. And any of the other ones I talked about. What were some of your favourite films that you saw for the first time in 2018 that weren't brand new releases? I'd be intrigued to hear. Anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. It felt like a bit of a shambles, really, with not talking about the last few films. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it wasn't a strong year for me in terms of brand new watches. I wasn't diving deep enough and watching too many films I'd already seen before and films that are brand new. But on the plus side, I think 2018 has been an incredible year for new films, and I've loved so many of them that I'm not too fussed about that. But this year I hope to get to more of the past than I did last year. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans and calling into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.